Why do some people seem to take pleasure in trying to break your peace? Have you ever noticed how certain individuals push your buttons on purpose, as if their goal is to see you explode, to make you lose yourself? It's not your imagination. There are people in this world who feed off chaos. They crave the feeling of control they get when you lose yours. They poke, they provoke, not because they're strong, but because they're weak. And when you react, when you let anger or frustration take over, you hand them exactly what they want, your power. In a world where manipulation wears a smiling face, staying calm becomes a revolutionary act. Most people walk around carrying emotional grenades, waiting for someone to pull the pin. But when you master your calm, you disarm them without ever saying a word. That's not weakness, that's war strategy. It's understanding that your emotions are the battlefield. And if someone else can control how you feel, they control how you think, how you speak, and how you live. That's the truth no one tells you. Your emotional reaction isn't just a momentary outburst. It's a transaction. Every time you react, you pay. You pay with your peace, your energy, your self-respect. The ones who try to trigger you, they've learned how to play the game. They know which words wound, which looks ignite, which silences scream. But here's the shift. What if they couldn't reach you? What if their words hit a wall of calm so strong, it shook them instead? That's the mindset you need to build. You don't owe anyone your rage. You don't need to prove yourself in an argument designed to rob you of your peace. The one who stays calm isn't scared. The one who stays calm is the one who's already won. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. They explode, then regret. They react, then replay. But you're here because you're done with that. You're tired of the games, the guilt, the chaos. You want something more. You want control, not over others, but over yourself. And that's the most powerful control there is. Because when you master your reactions, no one owns you, not their opinions, not their insults, not their attempts to tear you down. Stay until the end, because what you'll learn will change everything. You'll discover the psychological tactics that protect your mind. You'll learn how to use silence as power, breath as armor, and detachment as a sword. This isn't about pretending things don't bother you. It's about rising so high emotionally that their words no longer reach you. They want to see you break. But you're here to rise. You're not here to fight their battles. You're here to win your own. And when you stop giving them the reaction they crave, you starve their control. That's when the game ends. And you walk away, not broken, but unbothered, strong, steady, untouchable. When you choose not to react, you choose power. Every time you pause instead of explode, you grow stronger. In a world addicted to reaction, your calm becomes a weapon. Most people don't realize how much of their life is spent being pulled by the emotions of others. Someone insults you, you feel rage. Someone ignores you, you feel small. Someone challenges you, you feel the need to prove yourself. But what if you didn't? What if you didn't feel forced to play along with every emotional tug? That's when everything changes. That's when you step out of the game and into a higher level of control. There is nothing more terrifying to a manipulator than a person who cannot be provoked. When you stay calm, you confuse them. You dismantle the script they were counting on. They expect a reaction, a meltdown, a loss of control. Instead, they meet silence. They meet poise. They meet someone who refuses to give away their dignity for temporary satisfaction. That's when you shift the dynamic. Because the truth is, people only play mind games with those they think they can control. When they see you're untouchable, they retreat. Not because they respect you, but because they fear your self-control. You are not obligated to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to defend yourself against every accusation. You don't need to justify your boundaries, your silence, your choices. Calmness is not an absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. It's standing in the storm and choosing peace anyway. It's hearing the insult and choosing not to absorb it. It's being surrounded by chaos and still holding your center. That is true strength. Not loud, not violent, but deeply rooted in self-worth. Reacting feels good in the moment. It feeds the ego. It feels like release, but later, it leaves you drained, guilty, frustrated with yourself. Because deep down, you know you gave someone else the remote control to your mind. That's not who you want to be anymore. You want to be the one who owns your moments, who pauses, who breathes, who responds with purpose, not impulse. That version of you exists. It's not a fantasy, it's a choice. And every time you hold back a reaction, you choose that version. Let them say what they want. Let them throw their darts. Let them raise their voices, roll their eyes, mock your silence. That has nothing to do with you. Their chaos is not your responsibility. Their anger is not your problem to fix. You're here for something greater. You're not chasing attention. You're building inner peace. And that doesn't happen through reaction. It happens through restraint, through mental discipline, through emotional maturity. So the next time they try to push your buttons, remember, calm isn't giving in. It's taking back your power. Quiet is not weakness, it's control. And control is everything. Let them burn with confusion while you stand untouched, because nothing is more powerful than a calm mind under pressure. Your triggers are not your enemies, they are your mirrors. They show you what still needs healing, what still controls you, what still owns space inside your mind. Every time someone says something that makes you instantly react with anger, jealousy, fear, or insecurity, that reaction isn't about them. It's about the wound they touched. And that is where your power begins. Not in reacting, but in recognizing. Recognizing what still hurts. Recognizing what still needs to be understood. Recognizing what still pulls you out of your peace. Because the more aware you become of your triggers, the less power they have over you. Most people run from their triggers. They try to silence them, deny them, distract themselves, but avoiding the pain doesn't make it disappear. It just hides in the dark, waiting for another moment to explode. Real strength comes from facing it, from sitting with the discomfort, from asking yourself, why does this bother me so deeply? Why do certain words make my heart race? Why do some actions make me feel small, invisible, or enraged? The answers are never easy, but they are always freeing, because when you understand your emotional patterns, you gain the power to rewrite them. Emotional triggers are rooted in your past, in rejection you never healed from, in betrayal you never processed, in shame you buried deep because no one ever taught you how to deal with it. So when someone presses that button, your nervous system goes into survival mode. You lash out, you shut down, you spiral, not because you're weak, but because your mind believes it's protecting you. But protection without awareness turns into self-sabotage. It keeps you stuck, repeating the same emotional loops, reacting the same way to the same type of people. The only way to break free is to turn inward. Start by observing. When you feel yourself being triggered, pause. Take a breath. Notice the emotion rising, but don't judge it. Don't fight it. Just name it. Anger, shame, sadness, disgust. Whatever it is, say it to yourself. That simple act brings awareness, and awareness brings choice. You don't have to become the emotion. You don't have to act on it. You can feel it, understand it, and let it pass. This is how you gain emotional freedom, not by pretending to be unbothered, but by truly becoming untouchable from the inside out. The calmest people you know aren't calm because life never triggers them. They're calm because they've studied themselves. They've learned where the pain lives and faced it with courage. They've cleaned out the emotional wounds, stitched them with truth, and sealed them with wisdom. That's what you're doing now. Every time you pause, reflect, and choose awareness over reaction, you are healing. You are evolving. You are becoming someone who can no longer be controlled through emotional chaos. And that is where your peace comes from. Not from others treating you perfectly, but from knowing nothing they do can steal the calm you built from within. Not everyone who tries to trigger you is doing it by accident. Some people are calculated. They study your reactions, they test your limits, they learn what hurts you and keep returning to that place because your reaction gives them power. These are not harmless annoyances. They are emotional predators. They don't want peace. They want control. And their greatest weapon is your response. When you lash out, they win. When you argue, they feed. When you defend yourself to someone who never intended to understand you, you drain your spirit for nothing. But once you see the game, you stop playing it. You stop handing your energy to people who never deserved it. It begins with awareness. Start noticing who keeps pushing your buttons, who interrupts your peace with small, subtle jabs, who wraps their manipulation in fake concern or sarcasm. These people don't need access to your emotions. They need distance from your spirit, because you owe it to yourself to protect your energy, not exhaust it trying to fix people who find comfort in your discomfort. Your peace is not up for debate. Your self-respect is not negotiable. The moment you stop reacting, you flip the power dynamic. You take back the role they thought they had over you. Some will try to guilt you for not responding. They'll say you're cold, distant, arrogant. That's not your burden to carry. You are not here to be emotionally available to everyone. You are not here to validate every feeling others throw at you. You are here to stay aligned with your truth. And your truth does not have to scream to be heard. It stands tall in silence. It speaks in how you carry yourself, in how you walk away instead of breaking down, in how you let go of the need to prove anything to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. This is not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally wise. It's about knowing when to engage and when to disconnect, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to fight for clarity and when to walk away for peace. Not everyone deserves your words. Not everyone has earned your energy. And the more you grow, the more you realize that some situations are best handled by doing nothing. No explanation, no reaction, just peace. That is how power feels. You don't owe anyone access to your triggered state. That version of you, the one that used to explode, to scream, to break, doesn't live here anymore. Now, your calm is louder than chaos. Your silence is more unsettling than any argument. Your peace speaks for itself, and when they realize they can no longer control how you feel, they lose interest. They lose the game, because they never wanted you to be calm. They wanted you to collapse, but you didn't. You rose. And every time you stay calm in the face of their chaos, you remind them and yourself, you cannot be broken by noise that no longer reaches your soul. You don't need to match their energy. You don't need to meet chaos with chaos. That's what they expect. That's what they want. But when you stay grounded while they lose control, you become the one who holds the power. The loudest person is not the strongest. The most aggressive voice is not the one with the most authority. Strength is calm under pressure. Strength is knowing you could react, but choosing not to. Strength is walking through the fire and refusing to let it change your temperature. Because real control isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. That pause you take before reacting, that breath you draw before responding, that choice to wait before speaking. It's not weakness. It's psychological strength. It's proof that your emotions work for you, not against you. Most people live like puppets, their strings pulled by every rude comment, every dismissive look, every trigger designed to test them. But you're different now. You see the manipulation, you feel the pressure, but you choose stillness. You choose presence. You choose to remain the storm's calm center. That is mental dominance. That is emotional warfare won without lifting a single word. The brain doesn't make wise decisions when it's flooded with emotion. Anger hijacks clarity. Frustration clouds judgment. And fear steals your future. But when you pause, even for 5 seconds, you break the loop. You allow the logical part of your mind to activate. You begin responding, not reacting. That small space between the stimulus and your response is where all your power lives. It's where your reputation is built. It's where peace is preserved. It's where dignity survives. People may not remember exactly what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. When you stay calm, they feel your control. They sense your stability, and it disrupts their plan. They can't manipulate someone who refuses to be emotionally pulled. They can't provoke someone who understands their own worth. Your calm is a message. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it to you. That kind of presence silences more chaos than any argument ever could. It takes discipline to be calm. It takes maturity to pause. And it takes self-love to protect your peace above your pride. But when you train that response, it becomes your superpower. You become less reactive and more reflective. You stop living on edge and start living in alignment. And in that state, no one owns you. Not their insults, not their pressure, not their expectations. Because your sense of self is no longer based on what they say. It's rooted in who you've chosen to become. Keep choosing the pause. Keep training the space. Keep owning your energy. Because the one who controls the moment controls the outcome. And the one who stays calm, no matter how loud the world becomes, is the one who cannot be shaken, cannot be broken, and cannot be manipulated. That is who you are becoming now. Steady, clear, unstoppable. Staying calm isn't just a reaction, it's a deep reflection of how much you value yourself. When you choose not to engage in emotional chaos, you're declaring to the world that your peace is sacred, that your dignity is not available for negotiation. Most people don't understand that emotional control is self-respect in action. It's choosing not to let temporary anger destroy permanent peace. It's choosing not to let someone else's darkness pull you out of your light. When you stop reacting, it doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about protecting what you've built inside. Every time you hold your tongue when provoked, every time you resist the urge to lash out, you're building inner strength. You're showing yourself that you are no longer ruled by impulse. You are not the same person who used to snap at every insult, drown in every argument, or crumble under emotional pressure. That version of you was fighting for survival. This version is building a legacy. One moment of silence can speak louder than 1,000 shouted words. One moment of composure can command more respect than hours of arguing. And one calm breath can remind you that no matter what they do, you still control you. You can feel anger and still remain composed. You can feel disrespected and still choose dignity. You can feel pain and still move with power. Emotional control doesn't mean you're numb. It means you've learned how to channel the fire within you into something higher than reaction. You've transformed it into wisdom, into focus, into self-command. And the more you practice this, the more unshakable you become. People will try to label you too quiet, too distant, too calm. Let them. That's not your business. Your business is the preservation of your mental clarity and emotional energy. There is nothing impressive about someone who explodes at every provocation. There is nothing strong about losing control just because someone else has. Real strength is found in those who stay rooted when everything around them is shaking. And that level of power isn't found in the noise. It's found in the quiet moments where you choose your peace over your pride, where you step back not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Because you know that no one wins when everyone is bleeding emotionally. Someone has to be the anchor. Let it be you. You're not here to prove how loud you can be. You're here to show how powerful your silence is. You're not here to fight battles that drain you. You're here to protect your peace, build your strength, and rise above. So every time they try to drag you down, remind yourself, your calm is not a lack of response. It is the highest form of respect you give to yourself. You're not reacting anymore. You're rising. And with every breath you hold steady, you step deeper into your power. Your breath is not just a function, it is your anchor. It is the first thing to shift when you feel attacked, and it is the first tool you must learn to control. Because the body cannot lie. When someone triggers you, your breath shortens, your chest tightens, your heart races. That is your nervous system preparing for war. But you're not at war, you're in control. And when you take a deep, deliberate breath, you send a message to your body, we are safe, we are not reacting. We are responding. That breath is your signal. It's your power move. And it can silence the chaos without a single word. When you slow your breath, you slow your mind. You slow the storm before it takes over. You stop the spiral before it begins. Your breath grounds you in the now. It separates you from the emotional wave rising inside you. And in that space between inhale and exhale, you remember that you are not your anger. You are not your pain. You are not your fear. You are the one witnessing it. That distance, however small, is everything, because that's where choice lives. That's where peace begins. That's where strength awakens. Most people have no idea that their nervous system is ruling their lives. They think their outbursts are just personality. They think their reactivity is just normal. But it's not. It's a signal, a message. Your body is screaming for regulation, for safety, for calm. And the fastest way to regain that control is through breath. Not just any breath, but conscious, intentional, slow breathing, the kind of breath that interrupts panic, that calms the heart, that resets the brain, because the mind cannot think clearly when the body is in survival mode. You have to bring yourself back down gently, consistently, intentionally. When someone provokes you, don't react. Breathe. When you feel that heat rising in your chest, don't speak. Breathe. When your thoughts are racing, when your fists are clenching, when your voice wants to rise, stop everything and breathe. It is the most underrated skill in the world, and yet it holds the key to unlocking the strongest, most grounded version of yourself. The version that doesn't scream to be heard. The version that doesn't fall for every trap. The version that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Only those who can breathe through the fire can walk through it untouched. Your breath is your weapon, your shield, your tool. Use it like a warrior. Hold it like a master. Respect it like a gift. Because in every breath you control, you reclaim your power. You protect your energy. You choose your future. And if you can breathe through the storm, you can survive anything. Let them bring the noise. Let them try to shake you. But you will be still. You will be steady. You will breathe. And through that breath, you will win every time. Detachment is not distance. It is not coldness. It is not giving up. It is choosing peace over poison. It is deciding that your mind is not a playground for other people's chaos. It's understanding that you don't have to absorb everything thrown at you. You don't have to catch every insult. You don't have to respond to every challenge. You can observe the fire without stepping into it. You can see the game without playing it. That is detachment. That is emotional freedom. And it is one of the highest forms of personal power you will ever develop. People will test you. They will push. They will provoke. They will try to make you feel small. But your worth is not up for negotiation. Your stability is not a topic for debate. You do not owe anyone your energy just because they demand it. You do not owe anyone your reaction just because they know where to hit. And when you learn to detach, not from people, But from their attempts to control your emotional state, you become untouchable. They may still talk, they may still judge, but their voice no longer echoes inside you. It bounces off the walls of your self-worth and falls silent. When someone tries to bait you, ask yourself one question: what do they gain if I lose control? What is the outcome if I stay calm? That shift in thinking can save you from days of regret. Detachment allows you to respond with logic, not emotion. It gives you the power to choose when, how, and if you want to engage at all. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start protecting. You start valuing your energy. You stop leaking power into conversations that lead nowhere. You stop bleeding self-respect into arguments that only drain you. Your silence is not weakness. It is a strategy. Your calm is not surrender. It is strength. And your detachment does not mean you're unaffected. It means you've risen above the level where chaos can reach you. You've learned the secret most never will. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every insult needs a defense. Not every trigger has to become a wound. Some things are best left unanswered, because your peace is too precious to spend on people who thrive on disturbance. You are not here to prove your worth through conflict. You are not here to entertain every disruption that demands your attention. You are here to grow, to protect what you've built, to stay aligned with who you are becoming. And sometimes that means walking away, not in fear, not in weakness, but in clarity, in power, in deep respect for your emotional space. You do not rise by winning every fight. You rise by choosing which ones are worth it and which ones are simply noise. Detachment is how you rise above the noise. It is how you hold on to your peace. It is how you choose yourself over everything meant to pull you away from who you truly are. There is a quiet power in turning pain into strength, a power that does not come from pretending it didn't hurt, but from refusing to let it define you. When someone tries to trigger you, what they're really trying to do is control your energy. They want access to your emotions, your peace, your mind, but pain can either become your prison or your fuel. You get to decide what it becomes. The energy they use to tear you down can be redirected into something far more powerful: self-mastery. Instead of letting the insult echo inside your head, let it sharpen your focus. Instead of replaying the disrespect, let it push you to level up. Turn every emotional hit into fuel. That is how you take back your power without ever raising your voice. There is nothing weak about feeling hurt. There is nothing shameful about having emotions. But letting someone else's darkness determine the state of your spirit, that is surrender. That is giving away what you were born to protect. You are not here to be emotionally dragged by people who can't manage their own damage. You are here to become so rooted in your purpose, so connected to your vision, that no insult can pull you off course. Let the pain teach you. Let the pain transform you, but never let it control you. Every trigger is a doorway to growth. Every time someone tries to provoke a reaction, you are given a choice: collapse into the old version of yourself or rise into something greater. Not reacting doesn't mean you're pretending. It means you've outgrown the game. You've stopped trading peace for petty battles. You've stopped allowing other people's behavior to shape your identity. That's not suppression. That's evolution. You are not your reaction. You are not their words. You are the space between. The space where growth happens. The space where new strength is built. Channel the emotion. Use it. Let it build your discipline. Let it deepen your boundaries. Let it sharpen your focus. Anger can become drive. Frustration can become clarity. Betrayal can become wisdom. When you refuse to let others decide how you feel, you become unstoppable. Because you are no longer reactive. You are intentional. You are no longer at the mercy of outside noise. You are led by something internal, something calm, something unshakable. They don't get to decide who you are. They don't get to define your peace. You do. Every breath you take to stay centered is a message to the world: I am not controlled by chaos. I am built by it. I am not broken by pain. I rise through it. And no matter how hard they push, no matter what they say, I remain calm. Not because I'm weak, but because I've turned every wound into power. That is who you are now. And that power is permanent. Your silence in the face of chaos is not emptiness. It's command. It's control. It's power. When you don't react, when you hold yourself steady while the world tries to shake you, you reveal something terrifying to your enemies. They can't touch you anymore. The tactics that once worked on you no longer land. Their insults bounce off. Their games lose power. And that's when true strength is born, not in loud displays, not in dramatic responses, but in stillness. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is precision. You are no longer wasting energy on what doesn't grow you. You are no longer fighting battles beneath your worth. You are mastering your emotions, and that mastery is the most dangerous weapon you'll ever carry. The one who stays calm holds the advantage, because while others are distracted by noise, by ego, by reaction, you are calculating. You are centered. You are focused. They want to knock you off balance because your balance threatens them. They want to shake your peace because your peace exposes their chaos. But you don't owe them your energy. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them your fire. You protect your fire. You protect your peace because you've learned the value of emotional control. You've learned that not everything deserves a reaction. You've learned that the most powerful move is sometimes no move at all. This isn't about being passive. This is about being selective. This is about no longer bleeding energy into people who feed off your reaction. It's about showing the world that you've stepped out of the battlefield and into a higher arena, where self-control is a strategy, where focus is the weapon, where peace is non-negotiable. Every time you stay silent when provoked, you build discipline. Every time you refuse to be baited, you rise. You are showing yourself that your emotions belong to you now. No one else. It's easy to shout. It's easy to argue. It's easy to explode. But it takes a different kind of strength to look someone in the eye, feel everything boiling inside you, and still not flinch. That's strength forged in experience. That's strength carved from pain. You've walked through enough storms to know that reacting to every clap of thunder only makes you tired. But standing in silence, watching, waiting, choosing, makes you powerful beyond measure. You are not here to prove anything to anyone. Your presence already says enough. Your restraint speaks volumes. Your silence unsettles them because it reflects something they lack, inner control. So stand still, breathe deep, stay quiet. Let them exhaust themselves trying to provoke you while you conserve your energy for the things that actually matter. You've come too far to lose yourself over small minds. And now that you know your value, your silence will always speak louder than noise. That's how you win, not by fighting louder, but by rising higher, always higher. Power is not always loud. Sometimes it's silent, invisible, and deeply rooted inside a person who has made peace with their chaos. When you reach the point where no one can emotionally hijack your mind, you become unstoppable. The people who try to trigger you, the ones who test your patience, push your buttons, and whisper behind your back, they start to shrink in front of your unshakable calm. They notice it, they feel it, and it terrifies them because you are no longer playing their game. You are rewriting the rules. You're not seeking revenge, validation, or even understanding. You've risen above the level where their noise can reach. That's real elevation. That's real growth. You didn't get here by accident. You've felt the sting of disrespect. You've had your worth questioned. You've been underestimated, overlooked, dismissed. And still, you didn't break. You didn't lash out. You turned that pain inward, not to destroy yourself, but to rebuild stronger. You faced your triggers and removed their power. You stopped waiting for apologies that were never coming. You stopped needing closure from people who were too shallow to understand what they lost. That's when the shift happened. You became untouchable. Not because life got easier, but because you got harder to shake. Emotional discipline is not about pretending you don't feel. It's about refusing to let your feelings control your behavior. It's about knowing exactly what someone is trying to do and choosing to outsmart it. When you respond with silence, when you walk away with dignity, when you smile in the face of disrespect, you're not being weak. You're asserting control over the only thing that truly belongs to you, yourself. Your energy, your presence, your reaction, they're all weapons in the hands of the wise, and you're finally learning how to use them. The moment you stop responding to chaos, you start building peace. Not the fragile kind that depends on external harmony, but the kind that lives within you. The kind that doesn't need defending. The kind that speaks for itself. People will try to drag you back into the mess. They will poke, provoke, manipulate. Let them. They're just testing to see if the old version of you still exists. Don't prove them right. Prove to yourself that you've evolved past the point of needing to win every argument, correct every lie, or defend every wound. You've transcended the petty wars of the insecure. Hold your silence like a blade, not out of fear, but with intent, with precision, with absolute clarity. Because silence backed by self-control is a language only the wise understand. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You don't need to explain to be understood. Your calm is your power. Your peace is your victory. And the more they try to steal it, the more you realize how valuable it truly is. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Peace is not weakness, it's war mastered. When your peace becomes your weapon, your silence becomes your statement. The people who once fed off your reactions begin to starve. They can't manipulate what doesn't move. They can't disturb what stands firm. And that's when you become dangerous. Not with violence, not with rage, but with unbothered energy. You start to notice how quickly people panic when they realize they've lost access to your emotions. The same ones who once triggered you effortlessly now stumble in confusion when you give them nothing. You don't even need to defend yourself. Your stillness does it for you. Because when you have nothing to prove, nothing to explain, and nothing to chase, you become untouchable. Your power multiplies the moment you stop engaging with nonsense. You see things clearly. You recognize patterns. You know who's real and who just wears a mask. You know which words are bait and which actions are games. And you stop playing. That's where real transformation begins. When you no longer react just to be heard, liked, or understood. You detach from the noise. You protect your clarity. You understand that your energy is too sacred to be thrown into battles that only drain you. You start to respond with intention, not impulse. You start choosing your peace over temporary satisfaction. That's how you win, not by conquering others, but by mastering yourself. They won't like this version of you, the one that doesn't explain, the one that doesn't chase, the one that doesn't crack under pressure. It makes them uncomfortable, because your power doesn't need their approval to exist. It's grounded in discipline, not validation. You've worked for this. You've sacrificed your comfort to build resilience. You've turned pain into strength. And now you know your worth so deeply that no insult, no rumor, no disrespect can make you doubt it. You've faced yourself in the dark. You've healed in silence. You've learned how to sit with your own storm until it passed. And now, nothing outside of you holds the power to break you again. People underestimate the strength it takes to remain calm in a chaotic world. But that's exactly where your power shines. In your restraint, in your self-control, in your refusal to let temporary people shake your permanent values. You don't respond because you're afraid. You don't stay silent because you're weak. You stay grounded because you've outgrown the games. You've outgrown the drama. You've outgrown the need to prove your worth to those who never saw it. Your silence is no longer empty. It's strategic. It protects your peace. It shields your growth. It keeps your vision clear. This is the strength they don't teach. The kind that doesn't seek attention. The kind that thrives in solitude. The kind that holds its ground without a word. You've become the storm no one saw coming. Calm. Collected, relentless. And now, anyone who tries to shake your peace is only revealing how powerless they truly are. Let them. You've already won. When you master your inner world, the outside world begins to lose control over you. That's the shift they never expect. They were counting on your chaos. They were depending on your triggers. But now, you've stopped responding to noise. You've stopped giving them the emotional reaction they crave. You no longer validate their disrespect with your attention. And that is the most powerful form of self-respect. You no longer need to win arguments. You no longer need to expose anyone. You just remove yourself. Quietly, fully, with dignity that stings louder than any words could. That silence pierces deeper than confrontation ever will. Because it signals something terrifying to the weak. The moment you finally realize your value, your boundaries have become your fortress. Not to keep people out, but to protect the peace you bled to build. You know who deserves your presence now. You know who just wants access to your energy without earning your trust. And you no longer feel guilty for saying no. You no longer shrink yourself to keep people comfortable. You no longer tolerate emotional beggars disguised as victims. You see through manipulation. You see through pity. You see through the games that once fooled you. That clarity comes at a cost. Loneliness, isolation, discomfort, but it's worth it. Because now, your circle is not just smaller, it's purer. And that purity feeds your strength. There is no power in reacting. Power lives in control, in restraint, in the ability to walk away when everything in you wants to explode. That's not weakness. That's emotional mastery. And when you reach that level, your enemies don't know what to do with you. They throw shade, and you don't move. They lie, and you don't correct them. They provoke, and you don't flinch. That kind of power is rare. It doesn't scream. It doesn't seek revenge. It simply evolves. It grows stronger in silence. It learns in pain. And it answers not with words, but with progress. That's how you destroy without touching anything. You win by rising, by elevating beyond their reach. Your presence becomes a mirror. And mirrors terrify people who can't face themselves. They'll call you cold. They'll call you distant. But what they're really feeling is exposed. They can't manipulate what they can't access. They can't hurt what's healed. And they can't shake someone who stands on truth. You're no longer playing by their rules. You're building your own world, on your terms. With standards that don't bend for temporary emotions. That kind of life requires ruthless focus. It demands that you stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Let them talk. Let them twist your silence. Let them misread your calm. None of it matters. Because your peace is not for sale. Your mind is no longer a battlefield. You've won the war inside yourself. And now you are unstoppable, untouchable, unshaken. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And you finally learned real power doesn't shout. It just stands, alone, unapologetically, and never backs down. Real strength is built in silence, not when you're being praised, not when the world claps for you, but when you face disrespect with composure, when you stand firm in the storm without yelling, without breaking, without begging for anyone to understand your side. That's when the real you is born. When they test your patience and you don't react. When they try to provoke your anger and all they get is your stillness. That quiet is your evolution. That restraint is your rebirth. Because not everything deserves your energy. Not every battle is worth your breath. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. People fear what they can't control. And when they can't get under your skin, when they can't shake your peace, they panic. They label you arrogant. They call you distant. But you're not cold, you're healed. You're not passive, you're intentional. You've chosen peace over proving. You've chosen your path over their approval, and that's what they can't handle. They were expecting the old version of you, the one who used to react, explain, justify, beg. But that version is gone, replaced by someone who understands that their opinion holds no weight in your life anymore. Someone who has nothing to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to fear. You've learned to guard your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Your focus, your discipline, your peace, these are your most sacred possessions now. You don't waste them on chaos. You don't offer them to people who drain you. You don't let anyone play with your time, your heart, your peace of mind. The price of peace is high, but so is the cost of constantly giving it away to people who haven't earned it. You don't chase anyone anymore. If someone can't see your worth, you walk away, not out of pride, but out of wisdom. Because begging to be seen, to be respected, to be valued, that's not love. That's desperation. And you're done being desperate. The most dangerous version of you is the one who is calm, centered, and emotionally detached from what doesn't serve you. That version doesn't argue. That version doesn't explain. That version simply exits and leaves silence to speak volumes. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anyone wrong. You need only to stay focused, keep building, and rise so far that they can't even reach the version of you they once tried to destroy. The more they try to pull you down, the higher you climb. Not to spite them, but because you've realized that you were never meant to live in their small world. You were made for something greater, something cleaner, something more aligned with your truth. And the moment you commit to that life fully, everything starts to change. You don't fold under pressure anymore. You don't respond to disrespect anymore. You stay solid. You stay quiet. And in that silence, you become unbreakable because you finally understand peace is your power, and not everyone deserves access to it. Silence is no longer your weakness. It is your most dangerous weapon. Because when you stop explaining, people have nothing left to feed off. When you stop reacting, they can no longer manipulate your energy. Your stillness becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront their own noise. They try to provoke you to feel powerful, but when you give them nothing, they are left with their own emptiness. That's the kind of silence that shakes the room. That's the kind of silence that demands respect. And you didn't arrive here by accident. You earned this level of control through the storms you survived, through the battles you fought in silence, through the nights you cried and decided to rise anyway. Now you move with intent, not emotion, with purpose, not impulse. You've grown beyond the need for validation. The opinions of others no longer shape your path. You've disconnected from the need to be liked, accepted, or understood. That's not arrogance, that's clarity. You now know that self-worth doesn't come from attention, it comes from alignment. You choose what aligns with your peace. You reject what threatens your growth. You no longer bend to keep people comfortable. You no longer shrink to avoid confrontation. Your silence is not retreat, it's precision. You're not avoiding war, you're just refusing to fight battles that don't matter. The disrespect used to ignite you. Now it exposes them. Now you watch without flinching. Now you protect your soul like sacred ground. People will say you've changed. And they'll be right, you have. Because the person you were back then wouldn't survive where you're going. That version cared too much, gave too much, trusted too easily, reacted too quickly. That version didn't know the strength of walking away. But now you do. You walk away from anything that robs you of inner peace. You leave without burning bridges, without explanations, without guilt. That's not being cold. That's maturity. That's self-preservation. That's knowing your worth without screaming it. And when you stop begging for respect, you start attracting it. Because people sense when you become untouchable. Not physically, but emotionally. They know they can't shake you anymore. They can't use your compassion against you. They can't confuse your silence for weakness. They see it now for what it is, an unshakable core. You've chosen a different kind of power, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't roar but dominates. The kind that doesn't shout but echoes. The kind that doesn't show up with drama but leaves a permanent impact. And now, your presence alone is enough. You don't even have to speak. You walk into a room and people feel the shift. Because your energy is no longer scattered. It's refined, it's focused, and most of all, it's protected. You've become your own sanctuary, and no enemy, no disrespect, no noise from the outside world can enter without your permission. That's the victory. That's the transformation. That's the version of you no one saw coming. Quiet, but dangerous. Calm, but unstoppable.